Yo guys, Mike for SimRacing604 and welcome back to Assetto Corsa. You are looking at the DMC DeLorean, or at least its most famous example. This is the version from Back to the Future. This mod is known as the DMC-12 Back to the Future Hover. So it's a paid mod by, the original is actually by Shivas Auto Art, but the hover mode, which I'll get into shortly, is by something that I can't pronounce. Zigshunk, maybe? I don't know how to say that. But they have brought us this hovering example of the Back to the Future car. And if you need some context on why this DeLorean is floating, well, of course, we go back to the famous 1985 movie Back to the Future. Most notably, the last few seconds of runtime before the credits roll, where Doc says, "Where we're going, we don't need roads." And the DeLorean lifts up off the ground, flies away from the screen, then flies right back to the viewer. It's a very famous piece of cinema from the 1980s, and this DeLorean, this DMC DeLorean, is a version of that flying car. So we've had flying mods in Assetto Corsa before. This is not breaking new ground. However, the hover mode, I believe, is. I can't think of another example. There's probably a helicopter somewhere, but this is the first that I've driven that can actually hover, and you need 3 pedals to operate it. And so what we're going to do in this video is not only drive this DeLorean, which will be just a small portion, but I'm also going to try and fly a lap of Laguna Seca using the hover mode in this car. All right, so let's go ahead and get on track. All right, it's time now to drive the DMC DeLorean, known commonly as the DeLorean DMC-12, although I believe that was the prototype name. So it's just the DMC DeLorean, and this is the movie version. So I want to preface this mod review by saying this is not a great mod in the conventional sense. Normally, I spend a lot of time talking about how accurate the physics are, or, you know, how alive the car feels underneath me. This is not meant to be that. It's a gimmick car. It's, you know, seeing what you can do using Assetto Corsa's physics as kind of a playground or a place to sort of unleash your imagination. And that's exactly what this team has done with this car. It's got version 7 tires, so it's a nightmare to handle. Looking around the cockpit, I know you can't see it. It's off camera right now, but if you see the inside of this car, it's not extremely well detailed. You saw the exterior, a lot of, you know, very familiar features from the movie Back to the Future, but, you know, not extremely well detailed next to the likes of a VRC car or Race Sim Studio or something like that. This is strictly meant to be a way to experience, you know, relive moments from the 80s. Those of us who are old enough to remember Back to the Future when it had its run in the 80s, it was phenomenal. As a comedy, it was hard to beat. Excellent movie. And for those not familiar, because I'm realizing now just how old that movie is, it was about Marty McFly. He goes back in time 30 years to apparently get hit on by his mom, but not only that, he goes back basically in an effort to save his friend who has made this time machine, who is shot. It's a whole thing. Anyway, if you get a chance, watch Back to the Future. Fantastic movie. I hope it stands up because it was really good. And yeah, some funny moments in there. There's Chuck Berry references, etc. But again, at the end of the movie, there is this flying car, and that is exactly what we have in this mod. So it has a couple of bonus features. So the car itself, 130 horsepower. This is true to life. So this car had an abysmal performance level. It was styled really nicely. Whoops, sorry, third gear. It was styled really nicely and had, you know, gull-wing doors, and it was rear engine. And the thing about it is, it was sluggish. You see it just chugging along here, trying to get up to speed. But what Doc did in Back to the Future was he souped it up, and there was, you know, the need to get to the car to 88 miles per hour in order to achieve time travel. And so he souped his up, and this mod is actually souped up. So let's see, where am I at? Third gear here. So see it struggling. If I go into booster mode, you can see now it comes alive. So some lights come on the dash, which get brighter. Again, I'm sorry you can't see this. but those actually get brighter when I step on the accelerator. And the big, I don't know what to call them, out back of the car, those flash as well. The ones hanging out of the trunk that are mounted right above the engine. And you get this booster mode. So I believe everything I have described thus far is a free version. I'll leave a link in the description. But the hover mode is what makes this car. Again, I've tried flying in Assetto Corsa before, but I've never tried hovering, I don't think. So the reason I brought up the pedal app in the top left-hand corner of your screen is because, of course, you control the flight with those pedals. Clutch is to raise the car, brake is to lower or stabilize, and accelerate is to move forward. So once we get onto the start-finish straight here, we will begin our flight, and we'll try to do a lap of Laguna Seca in the air. So I'm going to press extra option A. Whoops. There we go. There we go. Now we're flying. Now we're flying. I'm using the accelerator here to try and keep things going. Braking just a little bit to try and get down. We're too high. Clutch, stabilize that altitude. There we go. Get up there. All right, we are flying. And you might notice you can still hear the curbs. The curb sounds are generated based on where the car is relative to the curb. It doesn't matter how far above it you are. So if I go over a curb, I should be able to do so very soon. We get to hear the curb. There we go. Hear that? I'll try it again. There we are. So how about that? All right, so I'm actually doing pretty decent here. For those wondering, I'm about a minute into my lap here at Laguna Seca and getting a bit high. I'll hit the brakes, try and stabilize things, but give it a little more clutch, keep that altitude up. Accelerator to go forward. That's going to pitch the car forward. Going to go up and over the Continental tire here. Whoop, too high, too high, too high. Can we go down? Yes. Don't want to land on the Continental sign. So it's a balance here. More accelerator because we pretty much stopped. We were pretty much hovering on the spot. We can get some decent speed here. Come on, Mike. Come on. Whoa, running really wide there. And for those wondering, I believe this is the Pyre version of Laguna Seca, if it looks different than yours. So currently showing an altitude of 15.5 meters. And we'll have to keep an eye on that because we're going to go uphill quite drastically here at Laguna Seca. So that will, of course, put us in a position where we could get dangerously close to the ground. Keep that clutch engaged. Keep us hovering. This is pretty wild. This is very wild. Above the sign here. Coming into my favorite corner at Laguna Seca. Never mind the corkscrew. This left-hander here is a phenomenal corner. One of my favorite in racing. Oh, we're getting low. We're getting low. Just 3.2 meters. Seems higher, though, doesn't it? All right, so we're doing okay here. Going up the hill. Hyundai sign there up ahead. And then we get to go through the corkscrew. I'm expecting the corkscrew actually to be quite difficult. We'll see how we get on here. Should have enough altitude to make it over this sign comfortably. And you get a great view, actually. I'm looking around my triple screens. I can see quite far. And you can see off in the distance there, the mountains. So I kind of want to let the car sink a bit here. So not too much, not too much. Steady, steady, steady. There we go. And we have a WeatherTech sign coming up. We go over that. Gotta accelerate. Whoa, boy. There we go. Braking, braking. Get the car down. We're very high right now. Very high. Falling, 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 falling. We're okay. Accelerate, get some more speed here. So, what is the function of this? Who needs this mod? Well, nobody. As I say, it's the definition of a gimmick mod. Is it fun? Sure. I've got a smile on my face, and it's a different take on, what you'd expect from an Assetto Corsa mod. And as I say, not extremely well detailed, and it doesn't drive all that great. It's a car that never performed that great in real life. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun if you want to just give this a try, see how you get on with hovering. Try to think what context this would be used in. Probably just to kind of get a different vantage point, perhaps, of your favorite racetracks. Yeah, and something a little different. This is not meant to be a flying sim or a hovering sim. This is a driving sim, so it's pretty remarkable what this team has done with this car to make it drivable. All right, so coming up on 5 minutes here for this lap. So definitely not breaking any records here. We will go over the Motul sign and then try and land this thing. It tends to really bounce when you land it. Whoop, power lines. Safely over. Smooth. Okay, so now I'm going to brake. I'm going to engage landing mode. And safely touch down. And we're away again. Turn off booster mode. It's too much power. So that is the DMC DeLorean. Very fun. I've got a huge smile on my face. This was a fun one to do. As I say, I'm not going to put this on any must-have list, but it's an interesting take, and the hover mode is really well executed. It's super fun. I don't know who this is for, but if this is for you, and you do end up getting the car, again, the hover mode is paid, but I'll drop a link in the description so you can learn more. And if you do get this car, let me know what you think of it. If you have any fun with it as I have today. All right, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.